In this video, we're going to talk briefly about how to properly use APA documentation in citing sources in your own writing, and we will also look briefly at plagiarism, how it happens and how we deal with it. Two basic ways to incorporate research into your own writing: quoting and paraphrasing. We'll talk about each in turn. So when we quote, we are reproducing the exact words from a source in our own piece of writing. We use double quotation marks, of course, to show where the exact words begin and end. And then at the end of the quotation, we have what's known as the in-text citation, and that is summary information about the source contained in brackets. What goes into the in-text citation? Three basic elements. We have the author's last name, we have the year of publication, and we have the page number. In this example here, we have Waxman, 2004, page 6. Now, the interesting thing about this is that this assumes that one is using a printed source. If we are using a web-based source, the information in the in-text citation is slightly different. So if it's a web-based source, we have the author's last name, the year of posting or publication, and instead of a page number, we include the paragraph number where the information was found. Perhaps that needs a little bit of explanation. Let's say you were looking at an online article and you were quoting from somewhere within the article. You would need to count down from the beginning of the article how many paragraphs in. In this case, we've got Waxman, 2004, and you see we're using an abbreviation for the word paragraph, and in this case it's paragraph 11. Three different methods for integrating quotations into our work, and we're just going to look at each one of these in turn. The first example, according to Jones, 2012, quote, cyberbullying is increasing in younger and younger age groups. And then we have the in-text citation at the end. And what we're noting here is that we have a signal phrase. That's the part that says according to Jones. We use a comma, and then we begin our quotation. And in fact, you'll notice that the in-text citation is split into two. The year coming before the quotation and the paragraph number coming after the quotation. In the second example, Jones, 2012, has observed an alarming trend. Quote, cyberbullying is increasing in younger and younger age groups. Paragraph 3. And this is very similar, but what we're noting here is that there's an introductory sentence that ends with the word trend. Then there's the use of a colon, and that sets up the beginning of the quotation. And as with the first example, the in-text citation is split into two, the year and then separately the paragraph number. Third example, Jones, 2012, points out that cyberbullying is on the rise, quote, in younger and younger age groups, unquote, paragraph 3. So what we have done in this case is to edit the quote slightly so that it integrates into the sentence. And because we have done that, we don't need to use any punctuation preceding the quote apart from beginning with the quotation marks. Once again, we also see that the in-text citation is split into two segments. We're using signal verbs, so in other words, when we have a phrase that sets up or introduces a quotation, there are certain types of verbs that we use. In the first example, straw bale homes have advantages. Jones, 2013, notes that, quote, thick walls create quiet places. So there's a list of signal verbs that you can use on this page. Try not to always use the same signal verb, and try to choose signal verbs that are appropriate to the context in which you're using them. So since we have just finished talking about quoting, now we'll talk about paraphrasing. When we paraphrase, we are using the ideas from a source, but we are putting those ideas in our own words. In other words, what we are doing essentially is summarizing the source rather than quoting it exactly. One of the advantages of paraphrasing is that it does allow you to integrate a source more fluidly and smoothly into your own writing by rewording it. If you paraphrase a source, you are still using that person's ideas even though you are not using the exact words, so it must be cited. In terms of choosing when to paraphrase and when to quote, most scholarly writing does use paraphrasing more frequently than quotation, but ultimately this choice is up to you. There are specific reasons why a developing writer, such as yourself, might want to choose quotation over paraphrase, and that is that if we're worried about getting it right or getting it wrong, it is easier to get it right with a quotation. When you paraphrase, you're putting the onus on yourself not to misinterpret what the author has said, and also not to put the paraphrase in wording that is too close to the original. So we've talked about in-text citations. Now we come to the other part of APA citation, which is the reference page. It always is the final part of a document. It's on a new page. It always has the same title. It's called References. It's double-spaced, and it uses what we call hanging indentation. And we'll get a better sense of that when we look at it. So for every source that you cite in the text of your document, you must have a reference page citation for it. The list of entries on a references page is always organized alphabetically by the author's last names, and we need to very carefully follow APA guidelines for how we format different types of sources. Here is a very short sample references page, and in fact you'll notice that the first of the two sources is your textbook. You'll notice that in each instance everything after the first line is indented, and that's simply what we mean by a hanging indent. The advantage of a hanging indent is that when you have a long list, it's very easy to scan the names of the authors because they stand out into the margin. So we're going to talk now about plagiarism, and this involves a couple of different types of things. One is that when somebody intentionally uses the words or ideas from a source and deliberately does not cite those in their writing. It can also involve instances where somebody has simply been sloppy about using source material without citing it. We're going to look here at a real case of plagiarism. So what we're looking at right here is the first paragraph of a student essay. And if you read it through, you can see that it's got a distinctive voice, you might say. Here it now is the fourth paragraph from the same essay. And what we can see is that there's a dramatic disconnect between the quality of the writing in the first paragraph and the quality of the writing, in fact, the syntax and the grammar in the fourth paragraph. And from a perspective of an instructor, this is when we start to get worried. So in this particular instance, what we did was to take a phrase from that fourth paragraph, and the phrase chosen here was equated with being thin and flawless, and to run it through the Google full-text search engine. So the screenshot at the bottom of the page in black is the result of that full-text search, and you'll see that that exact phrase does show up. In this particular instance, which was a real instance, the student was given a grade of 0 for the assignment, and there was also a report filed with the registrar's office It's called a breach of academic integrity report. If it happened again, if there was a second offense, there would not only be a mark of 0 for the particular assignment, there would be a mark of 0 for the course in which the second offense occurred. If there was a third offense, the student would be suspended from the college for a year, and if there was a fourth offense, it would result in permanent expulsion from the college.